Good evening, dear listeners, and welcome to the Crusaders project, a space where history is relished with a twinkle in the eye and a wink at its own absurdity. Tonight, we whisk you back to 11th century Europe, a realm where kingdoms splintered like overcooked pasta, ambitions soared higher than cathedral spires, and an unlikely idea was hatched: reclaiming the Holy Land by the sword. A tale as steeped in divine rhetoric as it is in very human ambition. Our story begins with a man whose personality would make even the most ostentatious showman blush. King Roderick the Resolute.
In my day, a king's dream was simple. Expand the realm, secure a bit of treasure, and maybe even earn a few new titles. A crusade? Ha! It was the perfect excuse to leave behind dull, courtly banquets for a whirlwind adventure. And let's face it, a chance to add a few shiny baubles to the royal treasury.
Picture medieval Europe as a grand, boisterous party, where nobles and peasants alike jostled for a seat at the table of destiny. Local lords bickered over territories as if fighting over the last slice of a heavenly pie, while economic woes left many dreaming of fortunes in far-off lands. Even as regional crises brewed, an undercurrent of commerce and cultural exchange hinted at opportunities that reached far beyond the immediate horizon. Discontent and the allure of worldly gain were fermenting long before the first rallying cry echoed through the hallowed halls of Clermont. Foot soldier Johann.
Oi, oi! I spent me days slogging in the fields, wrangling stubborn oxen, and me nights dreaming of a life that weren't all muck and misery, you know. When the word about the Crusade got round, I said, why not then? Swapping me plough for a sword sounded like the best bleeding career upgrade since forever.
And then, like the lead actor in a blockbuster medieval drama, entered Pope Urban II. Renowned for his magnetic charisma and unyielding ambition, Urban was not just a pious pontiff, but a master of divine showmanship. With a flair for theatrical oratory and a knack for political maneuvering, he recognized in Christendom's chaos an opportunity to forge unity, and let's be honest, to stamp his own indelible signature on history.
Take up the cross, my children. Salvation awaits those who fight for the Lord.
Knight Sir Geoffrey the Valiant.
I must confess, as I strapped on me armor, I couldn't help but chuckle at how our holy leader blended piety with a pinch of cutthroat politics. It wasn't just incense and prayers. There was enough realpolitik in his words to make even the most battle-hardened knight raise an impressed eyebrow.
But let's not be fooled into thinking that every heart beats solely for divine favor. Far from it. The Chronicles offer a delightfully candid peek into the more earthly motivations at play. For many knights and nobles, the Crusade was less about donning a halo and more about bagging tangible treasures. Nobleman Baldwin.
I ride forth to reclaim Jerusalem for Christendom.
Nobleman Geoffrey.
And coincidentally, seize a few castles along the way?
Well, it would be irresponsible to leave them unattended.
Knight Sir Geoffrey.
So, let me get this straight. We charge into battle, take what we like, and the Pope says it's all fine.
Bishop Edmund.
Indeed, my son.
Now that's divine justice I can get behind.
Peasant Thomas.
Ain't never been farther than the next village. What's Jerusalem like?
Seasoned soldier.
Hot, dry, and full of people who don't want us there.
Sounds better than shoveling pig muck, mate.
Venetian merchant.
You want a fleet, provisions, maybe some nice matching armor sets for your army? We offer excellent Crusader package deals if the price is right.
Despite the grandeur of the Crusades, not everyone in medieval Europe was convinced that this so-called holy war was truly righteous. Even within the clergy, noble ranks, and scholarly circles, there were vocal critics who saw through the facade of divine justification. Abbot Peter:
I fail to see how burning cities and spilling blood in the name of Christ brings anyone closer to salvation.
John of Salisbury:
It seems curious, does it not, that so many of our righteous warriors are more concerned with plunder than prayer.
Henry IV:
Ah, yes. The Pope encourages war, and suddenly my vassals are more interested in Jerusalem than paying their taxes. Convenient, that.
Knight Bertrand of Toulouse:
We march to Jerusalem for the glory of Christ. But tell me, why does that glory so often include looting the homes of fellow Christians along the way?
But it wasn't just the clergy and nobility who raised concerns. In the great trading hubs of Italy, some rulers saw the Crusades not as a divine mission, but as a disastrous economic disruption. Venice, Genoa, and Pisa all relied on profitable trade with the Muslim world, and war was bad for business. One of the most vocal critics of the Crusades was Doge Domenico Selvo of Venice, who had long-standing trade agreements with the Muslim world. He reportedly scoffed at the idea of severing lucrative partnerships in favor of war.
Why would I fight the Saracens when they pay me so well for my ships and spices? Piety is commendable, but profit is divine.
Venetian merchants, ever the pragmatists, feared that war in the East would disrupt their trade routes and cripple their dominance in Mediterranean commerce. While some Italian city-states ultimately profited from transporting Crusaders, others initially resisted, seeing war as an unwanted obstacle to wealth. Venetian merchant Marco:
Embark on a crusade, you say, and jeopardize our spice trade with the Levant? Perhaps piety can wait until after the next shipment of peppercorns arrives?
Now here is where our tale takes on a delicious twist. The official narrative paints the Crusades as a divinely orchestrated saga of heroism. Yet beneath these stirring accounts lay a more tangled reality, one of political intrigue, personal rivalries, and the very human hunger for power. Foot soldier's wife, Eleanor:
While me hubby was off dreaming of treasures and glory, I were dreaming of something else. Me neighbour, Richard. Now don't judge. Our woman's got needs. And if me Bert wants to gallivant across half the world for a slice of holy land, well, who's gonna keep me warm in winter?
Ah yes, the forgotten casualties of war, wives left behind with empty beds, unpaid debts, and in some cases rather charming neighbours.
Oh, and when Bert comes back expecting me to be all swooning at his tales of battle, I'll just tell him, "Oh, love, you wouldn't believe it. I fought a few battles myself, mostly over who gets the best cut of mutton at the market."
And so, while noble knights charged into the annals of history, many a soldier's wife was conducting her own campaign of survival, of scandal, and of ensuring the household didn't collapse into ruin while their men chased dreams of glory. So why did the Crusades really begin? The answer is as multifaceted as it is compelling. On one hand, there was a genuine desire to mend the fractures of Christendom, a call to spiritual unity. On the other, there was a cold, hard calculation. European economies were in dire straits, local lords were ravenous for new territories, and the lure of exotic riches from the east was simply irresistible. King Roderick the Resolute:
For a king like me, every crusade was a double-edged sword, a chance to secure divine favor while fattening the royal coffer. One must balance ambition with a touch of caution, but let's be honest, fortune always smiles on the bold and the cheeky.
As we draw this opening chapter to a close, it becomes clear that the genesis of the Crusades is a tapestry woven from both celestial aspirations and very human designs. The Church, with Pope Urban II's charismatic yet calculating leadership, ignited a movement that promised both divine redemption and tangible earthly gain. But as we've seen, not everyone was convinced. Scholars, rulers, merchants, and even some warriors questioned whether this so-called holy war was truly righteous or just another grand political maneuver. Even as the first wave of Crusaders gathered their banners, there were tensions simmering beneath the surface. Nobles saw golden opportunities wrapped in the fabric of religious fervor, merchants feared economic ruin, and foot soldiers dreamed of better lives, sometimes in battle, sometimes in the arms of a conveniently present neighbor. What history remembers as a grand spiritual movement was, in reality, a concoction of faith, ambition, and a great deal of opportunism. One thing is certain: if history teaches us anything, it's that human nature remains delightfully consistent. Whether it's a medieval noble eyeing a new fiefdom or a Venetian merchant tallying his ledgers, the pursuit of wealth, power, and survival will always find a way to weave itself into even the most sacred of causes.